Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you all very much for coming to the Palm for the Silverado tasting. We do appreciate you spending the time to come and look at these wonderful wines from Napa. My name is Nicky. I have a small business called World Wine Agencies, and we have the great privilege to be the importers of Silverado here in the UK. We will run the seminar from 3 till 5. Please can I ask you to turn your mobile phones off? We did purposefully choose a room though where it's a dodgy signal. Please, you've obviously all noticed you've got information packs there which have the winemaker notes from the wines they're showing, plus my business card. If you do have any questions about the wines today or forevermore, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me. And I would like to say a real special thank you to Kerry from the Palm and to Ricky from the Drinks Lover for helping us set up today. Really appreciate their work. And without further ado, in a moment I'm going to hand you over to Russ Weis, who's the General Manager from Silverado. But first of all, if you'll indulge us for a few minutes, I asked Kerry to tell you a little bit about the Palm restaurant. So, tell you a little bit about
I tried to meet a few people. I don't know if a lot of you have been into the Palm yet. We're from the United States. We have 27 properties in the U.S. across sort of the major cities. Charlotte would be an example of the smaller cities that we would in Charlotte, South Carolina. So what we do is we import USDA prime steaks from the United States and Nova Scotia lobster, so that tends to be our specialty. Although we have fresh local seafood and a lot of other things, the menu would be upstairs. You're welcome to look at it. The private dining room that you're sitting in holds up to 50 people, so we often do things like this in support of people that like Silverado Vineyards, for instance. So any type of different event like that we're willing to do. You know, us Americans, we don't say no to much. So whatever it is that you need, ask and probably you will receive. Some of the history is 1926, the original Palm was opened in New York City. And they grew, I think the second one wasn't open until the 70s, so it was sort of a standalone in terms of its group for many years. And since then is when they've really expanded, but it's still privately owned, and it's still owned by the same two families that opened it back in 1926. The name originated because the gentlemen were from Parma, Italy, and they went to the business and licensing office in New York, and they said, we want to name our restaurant after the town we're from in Italy, which is Parma. They said, Parma, Parma, like that, and they wrote down Palm. And that's how that all started on a flute, but it kind of stuck. And it was an Italian restaurant to begin with, and the guys would have to run up the street to get a steak if somebody ordered a steak, which they were willing to do. The whole shtick with the caricatures on the walls originated because it was in a newspaper district of town, and it was in the Depression when the first one was open, or it lived through the Depression, and people would come in, and they were working for the newspapers. They were caricaturists or cartoonists, there was writers, and they would say, what do I have to do to get a bowl of spaghetti around here? And the owners would say, well, how about you put a piece of artwork up on the wall? And to this day, some of the walls in the original Palm have to be insured for up to £500,000, I think, because they actually are the history of how those cartoons, well, you saw Beetle Bailey, for instance. There was like, that's when the character actually originated, even in its own inception, I believe. So there's a lot of history behind the Palm. Once you sort of know some of that history, you grow this little bit of a loyalty to them. A lot of people come in and say, I've been going to Palms my entire life. People were brought as children, and they sort of stick with it, really. So we kind of have a way of working in people's lives. Silverado, we do a lot of work within the United States. I think we're number 2, though. I just learned. We're not number 1.
But our best number 2.
Which is fine, but we're glad that Silverado finally made it onto our shores here, which is it's great. And this, I think, for the next couple of months we're doing California wine promotions throughout the next few months. So if you leave me your business card, I'd be glad to get you on the mailing list for things like California Wine Dinner, for instance, we have in April, and things like that, to really try and support some of the, which is John McLaren is helping us, and Ben Lett is helping us with some of those events that we're doing. So anything we can do to help our comrades. So with that, that's about it. Thank you so much, and welcome.
And while we get the white wine out, Russ, over to you.
So you know, Nicky actually promised me she wasn't going to talk about the Von Buell, and she was good for her word. I don't know why. We thought we were being so clever because, you know, you may know from the history that Von Buell actually started in 1949, or 1849, which is actually when most of California's wine business got started, because without the gold rush, I don't know, we'd probably still be herding cows down in Los Angeles or something. I don't know. Silverado was started as actually a vineyard, and it's the Miller Ranch. It's the Sauvignon Blanc that you'll be tasting, you know, as soon as we get it out.